focus, okay? She is a #1 best-selling author, a TED Talk speaker, a TV host, communication turned veteran. She's also been seen on Fox News, on Black News Channel, Revo, Rolling Out Magazine, and more. She is none other, I got you. She's none other than Miss Christal Jordan. Bring her on up to the stage.
Real hot, girl. Yeah, I'm in my bag, but I'm in his too. And that's why every time you see me, I got some shoes.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. I know it's been a long day, but first of all, what an amazing event. Can you guys give a hand for the Women in Wine weekend? I love seeing Black women up here talking about an assortment of things, right? We talked about trust that I didn't know anything about. We have heard about just inspiration and encouragement, but now we're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about relationships. And for those of you that don't know me, I was an entertainment publicist for years, and I had gone through a divorce early on. And you guys know when a Black woman goes through heartbreak, she levels up in an amazing way, right? You go through heartbreak, and then all of a sudden you lose weight, you get focused, you get in your bag, you start working on your credit, you do all these amazing things. And so many people were praising me about that, but I was so depressed internally and so sad because I really had replaced the love that I had with my ex-husband with work. How many of you guys can relate to that? Today, when I was listening to the conversations from the ladies, I hear so many women of color talking about work and excelling and exceeding. And it's like, yes, we're doing this amazing. But there's other things to life aside from work. How many people know that you cannot go to sleep with your money?
That's right.
You cannot go to sleep with your degrees. You can go to sleep with your shoes, but they don't give you that type of warmth and feeling that you get from real love. And so I ended up going through a process, writing this book, and it's basically a reflection of my journey. When I was at the height of my career and things looked the best is when I was actually the most broken. And I think there's so many of us like that. We look great on the outside, our waists are snatched, especially if we've just gone through a breakup. And we do all this work to make sure that we perfect the outside, but the inside is still broken. And I'm here to say that your inside, you gotta do the work on your inside, because at the end of the day, you can build a life that looks great on the outside, but what good is a man if he gains the world but loses his soul, right? And I know so many women, I have so many girlfriends in Atlanta where there's this, it's not even a myth of the successful Black woman, it's the reality. But so many of them are unsatisfied. So many of them are struggling with anxiety. So many of them are wondering, what's wrong with me? Why am I not in a relationship? Why can't I find love? And I'm here to tell the ladies that are listening today, and for those of you that will be open to receive this message, that more usual than not, the issue is ourselves. Can anyone relate to that? No one can relate? Okay. Well, let's talk about it. So let's talk about it. Usually the issue is ourselves. If we look and we hear all these stereotypes and all this narrative about how difficult it is for women who are in careers to find love, the issue can't always be the men. Can we say that? Can we say that, sister? It can't always be the men. So I put together an amazing panel of people from different backgrounds that I really, really respect. And I wanted us to have a conversation. We want you to be a part of this conversation as well. So can we do that? Are you guys good with that? Okay, so I'm gonna bring my panel up, and they were from all over the country, actually. I'm gonna start with the ladies from Texas. My first panelist is Coach Demi Austin-Thomas. She is a certified family dynamics and relationship coach, mommy motivator, and author. She is a mama on a mission. With a no-fluff approach, Demi passionately coaches busy wives and couples on how to re-envision their marriages and reset their relationship. Together with her husband, Demi is the co-author of the transformative 90-day marriage reset challenge. Please help me welcome Coach Demi Austin-Thomas. All right, and our next lady is right here from H-Town. Whether she is bankrupting multi-million-dollar companies for selling deadly products that kill children or teaching pretty people how to legally tax deduct their hair, makeup, and travel expenses, Redwine keeps clients solving their legal problems while dishing out witty but effective legal solutions. This Oak Cliff educated and Ivy League educated queen teaches viewers how to use the law as their asset, dishing out real world advice like only a homegirl could, directly, empathetically, and unapologetically. Symone Redwine also serves the community by providing legal advice and information to underserved communities via her popular podcast and YouTube channel, Girl, Is That Legal? She also serves as a legal contributor to the Dallas Weekly newspaper. And of course, she was a member on Ready to Love Houston. You guys, please help me welcome Symone Redwine. All right, so now I have two marrieds and two singles, okay? That way we have a little diversity here. So our next married is also a relationship coach. Deron is a husband of 19 years. You all give him a hand for that, husband of 19 years. He's a social media influencer and the host of Hold Husband podcast and the author of It's Not That Complicated. Please help me welcome Deron. Yeah. All right, ladies, and last but not least, all the way from Miami, Florida. He is a fitness professional, lifestyle management coach, entrepreneur, and of course, reality star. You all may have seen him on Ready to Love Miami, where he was definitely tantalizing the ladies with his hoochie daddy shorts. Please help me welcome Randall Scott. Okay, first and foremost, I want to also say that this panel today was sponsored by the Random Wine. And this company is a wine company, and I thought it was amazing that they agreed to sponsor us because it was started by Kay Jackson, and Kay Jackson is a woman that went through breast cancer. And because of, going through breast cancer, going through radiation, she tried to find something that kept her mind off of it. And so she decided to have her girlfriends bring wine over. And so that started her, once she went into remission, she actually started a company. And so the brand really has a close place to my heart because I'm a cancer survivor as well. But she sponsored our panel, which means all of our guests, who I'm so thankful for, they took me up my offer, will get a bottle of the Random Wine, okay? All right, with that said, before we start, I want to ask you all to do one thing. I'm not gonna ask you to stand up, but I do believe that breath is so important, and so often we don't take a chance to actually just breathe, right? It makes us more receptive. So I'm gonna ask everyone to just take a deep breath in, and release it. One more time, a deep breath in and release it. Doesn't that feel good? Sometimes you just need to be receptive and be open. All right, so I'm gonna ask everybody to make sure before we start this conversation, I've asked all the panelists to be extremely honest. We don't want the men to give us answers that we want to hear. This is a safe place. This is a safe place. I want us to be able to have real, raw conversation, and that's really why I asked these panelists to come. I've known Terry for years. Terry definitely will not tell you what you want to hear. He's going to tell you the truth, and you all, if you know anything about this lady sitting right here on my left, she is not going to sugarcoat it, but I respect that about her. The same thing with Demi. She's been married for years, and we just have honest conversations about what marriage really is. And Randall, when I interviewed him when he was on Ready to Love, I appreciated the fact that he had so much respect for Black women as a single Black man, but he was not willing to sacrifice his own ideals. And I think we need men to be honest with us, right? We need them to be honest so we can all grow. So with that being said, I'm going to start the panel. And I'm going to start with this idea. As I said, this conversation is based on the book, Dear Alpha Female, It's Not Him, It's You. So I'm going to start here on my right and ask Terry the first question. When you hear about a very successful Black woman, right, what do you automatically assume about her relationship status?
Well, I don't necessarily assume anything, but when I do see a successful woman that is in a relationship, my does the relationship predate her success? Because a lot of times you'll see a lot of a woman is with a guy through her progression, and then once she reaches the success, things fall apart for a variety of reasons. So that's really my biggest thought initially. And then the second thing I think about is, how does her workload or her success impact the relationship and the relationship dynamic? Because that can change a lot as well. Some men can't really handle success, and a lot of times the things that require a woman to be successful put her in a masculine space. So that can create unnecessary conflict on the relationship. So those are the two things that I think about when I hear about a successful woman and her relationship status.
Okay, I'm gonna welcome the YouTube audience watching, and I'm gonna ask, can we get another microphone so we don't all have to use the same microphone? Can we get the other cordless? Okay, great. So we'll just give that to Randall. And Randall, I'll ask you, I'm gonna rephrase that question a little bit for you, because we know that you entered Ready to Love, and on every season on Ready to Love, we see extremely successful women, right? A lot of them are entrepreneurs, and they come on the show and they're looking for love, and they're very determined. They're very determined to find it or to at least win. So Randall, when you see a woman who is very successful, she's obviously put a lot into where she's at. What assumptions do you make before you actually go into the interaction with that woman?
Honestly, I try my best not to make any assumptions. In fact, I'm more so excited, like I'm driven by driven women, right? I was raised by one. So if you watch the show, I spoke about my mom a lot. And that's what I've always seen. So if I go in with any assumptions or anything based off of a prior relationship, we're not gonna go anywhere from the start. So I just go with a clean slate and just do my best to see who she is, see if we can really connect.
Okay. All right, but let's stay there for a second. With that being said, and you going in with a clean slate, are there any commonalities that you've seen that happen, that come up? And again, we want you to be honest, because I think the only way we can learn is if we are honest with each other. Are there issues, and I would just ask you for what your experience has been, that are consistent with some of those successful women?
For me, like, people always ask, like, what's my type, right? And I always would say that I don't have a type. And then I realized that I actually do. It's just not visible. It's the traits. Like, all of the people that I talk to have had the same traits. And I'll find myself in the same situations because I tend to react the same way in the same situation, expecting something to be different. And that's basically insanity, right? So a lot of it is my fault, I would say. You get what I'm saying? Not because like I'm like intimidated by a strong personality. No, I like that. That's going to motivate. You get what I'm saying? But sometimes I think my communication is not enough, where it's like I'm not speaking on the things that are bothering me. So I'm doing her a disjustice by not giving her the opportunity to make a change.
I like that. Okay, Demi, I'm going to ask you, because you've been married. How many years have you been married?
23.
Okay, 23. Again, clap it up for 23 years. I'm trying to get there, girl. I had to start over. I started over, and I'm working on a cool 3. But that's when you got to start somewhere. I'm going to ask Randall to pass his mic to you. And I want to ask you, because Terry mentioned something that was really, I think, perceptive, because he said he doesn't necessarily assume anything about the situation, but he does wonder, is that success, does it predate her husband or after? And I'm going to ask you, because not only are you married, you've been married for 23 years, but you also counsel couples. Have you seen it be difficult when the woman's success comes during the marriage and the dynamic doesn't necessarily equal out? What has been your experience with those examples?
Well, I think this is a really good question, and I want to make this more personal for me, because this is kind of more my story. So, when me and my husband got married, we came into our marriage with children, and I wasn't doing anything. I was just being a wife and being a mom, struggling in doing that, and then I started seeking my purpose, and realized that there was a dream that I wanted to pursue. So I started pursuing that dream, and my husband had a problem with that. Because my husband just thought, I just want a wife who's gonna come home, clean, do the laundry, cook, do these homework with these kids, and have some other stuff waiting on me. And so, because I was really ambitious and driven and wanted to go after my dream started happening for me. And so there was a little bit of conflict in our relationship and a little bit of jealousy, if I can use that as a word. And I think it was more so my husband didn't know where he fit. And then I just thought I was just signing up for just to be married to this regular girl, but I didn't realize I was marrying to this ambitious girl who's driven, and she's really going after her dreams. And it looks like maybe that dream may not have me a part of it. And so that was a big issue for us in our marriage. And it really, I think for a lot of couples, struggle with how do we make the shift? How do I still prioritize my husband and not make him feel as if he's not a part of the dream? And so for me, it took us a minute. We almost divorced because of it. And I took a year off to really figure out how to get my life back in balance and really how to prioritize my life. I will tell you, I come from strong women. And we're ambitious and we're dreamers and we go after our dream and we will leave you on the sideline. And there was no model and there was no one in my family, my mother, my grandmothers, who said, hey, sis, don't forget about your husband. It was go after your dream. So I had to take a minute to reprogram and to get my house in order and to get my priorities in order and then come back and pick up my purpose and my dream and move forward.
And to get yourself together. Alpha
did.
female, it was you. Some of that was.
It was me.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this little Barbie next to me. Symone looks like a Barbie doll with this beautiful golden skin. You being successful, because Symone is no joke, y'all. To me, lawyers can be intimidating, period, just because, they come with the information. What is the response? Because I've had these conversations with girlfriends. So many of my girlfriends are professional women and, we get together and encourage each other. But there is an idea that all of us have had, experiences that we've had when you meet men that may be attracted to your physical and they hear how serious and how passionate you are about your business and your purpose, and they don't always share that same enthusiasm for that. So what has your experience been when men learn how serious you really are about your business?
So my mom, earlier on in my legal career, my mom used to like to play this game of guess what my daughter does for a living, okay, in social studies. And I said, you have to stop that because one day they're gonna say stripper and your feelings are gonna be hurt, okay? She liked to play it because I'm very gregarious and social. So people would never guess lawyer. They'd say, oh, you're in marketing, you're in sales, you're, something where you have to be a people person. But I only get two responses. I either get, yes, like, oh wow, you're not just beautiful, you're smart. Or I get, oh, so you like to argue. You think you know everything. It's only two. So at this point in my life, if I get the, oh, you like to argue, you think you know everything, I say, it's so nice to meet you. Have a blessed day. And carry on. And if I get the other one, then all right, let's talk some more. That's it.
Okay, well, let me ask you on the yes part, right? Because my experience being a publicist, a lot of guys, I had quite a journey because at first I would tell people what I did. And then sometimes guys that would say yes and get excited, the next thing would be like, well, if you ever need a date for a red carpet premiere, and I'd be like, I don't know you like that.
Right.
I'm not taking you to no red carpet premiere. Or, I mean, it's just so I learned to kind of hold that back, right? And because sometimes I realized the excitement was not necessarily because of me, it was because it looked like an opportunity. Yes. So have you had that experience as well?
Absolutely. So I had to learn to read the room. I just left a funeral, y'all, earlier today, but it was a funeral for my friend who was a Kappa at Stanford. I have never seen so many fine men in one room. Bless their hearts, okay? And that was a room where it was a good thing, it was a positive thing, because I knew that I was being surrounded by like-minded people. But then I have certainly been in other environments where they're like, say, let me ask you something. So my baby mama got me on this child support. I definitely feel like I have to be much more on guard as a successful woman, right? Because you got opportunists that you have to deal with. You have intimidated men you have to deal with. And you have men that can't quite articulate what the issue is, but ultimately they fear that they don't have any place in your life.
That's what I wanted you to share, because that's what I learned on my dating journey, the long dating journey that I had. A lot of them, I don't necessarily think it's personal. I had to learn how to not take things personal. And I think if we as, both sides, because people say women are emotional, but that is only true if you're not a man, because I'm sure I could ask all the ladies up here, there are some very emotional brothers. When they, can we say that? Can the church say amen? Brothers get extremely emotional when they don't get their way, but I had to learn that you have to read the room. And one of my colleagues, shout outs to Kojo, Little Black Book 91, he said something that was so powerful. I have recited it, I put it in the book, because so many career women, a lot of us developed our alpha personalities from being hurt, right? Or from not seeing appropriate, functional, healthy relationship from a woman and a man. And so we were taught to be afraid of being taken advantage of, right? And he said, so you build up these walls around you because you want to be smart. I remember being in college, and my mom, I come from strong women as well. My mom and grandmother were very, very hard on me. And I remember telling this guy, I said, I may be, the stoop, I may be the fat chick or the ugly chick, but I swear I'll never be the dumb one. I didn't say chick, I may be, you may think I'm the ugly bee or the fat bee or the whatever bee or the soup, but trust me, I will never be the dumb one. And that was all that energy of like, you're not gonna take advantage of me. But when Kojo and I were talking and he said, only dogs like to jump high fences, I was like, oh my goodness. Because I know so many successful women dealing with foolishness. It's like you are a whole OBGYN and you are dealing with somebody that don't have a job that you're trying to make sure that, and it's just because a lot of times we build up all this defense and an amazing man doesn't have time for that. So he moves on and we end up dealing with somebody that really has no business, but he's not intimidated because he wants to use you. So I think, yeah, go ahead.
And I had to learn, I just wanted to add that one thing that I've learned is when I deal with a man who says, but you're so successful, what do you need me for? I had to learn to not explain. Because if you don't know, I'm not here to teach you at my big grown age. Because what I need you for is support, nurturing. I need you to pick up a dry cleaning. I need you to bounce business ideas off of, okay? If I can't bounce ideas off of you and trust that you have some sense of wisdom, or at least sense enough to say, well, I don't know, but I might know somebody from my church who can help you, that it's no longer my responsibility to tell you, oh, here's what I need you for. No.
I just want to say what you said, Symone, earlier about reading the room. I think one of the most underused gifts that we have as women is our inability to use our discernment. And many times we find ourselves entertaining the opportunities because we don't want to be alone, knowing that this person really isn't my person. We see the red flags, we ignore them, we make excuses, and that little voice on the inside of it has already told us he's not the one. But we keep the charade up, and then what we find is 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, we've wasted time with someone who really doesn't have what we want in mind in terms of being married. Because I'm sorry, I can't be a long-term girlfriend. I'm wife material. And so when you know that's what you want and that's what your goal is, then why are we entertaining the opportunists and those who are just showing up for the tricks?
I think a lot of our decisions are based in fear. And I know for me, when I first started dating in Atlanta after getting divorced, I was like, oh my gosh, I've just been thrown out to these wolves, and you're hearing there's like 28 women to every one man, and the women are extremely aggressive. I don't know how many people have been to my city, but people will walk up on your man when you're with him. Like it's some serious stuff. So yeah, they don't play that. It's a whole. If you don't have yourself together, you will be in a whole heap of trouble. So you really have to know that what is for me will not pass me, right? And if you don't believe that, then probably it's going to be difficult to date. Randall, I'm going to ask you, and then I want to come to Terry. In that, you've heard what the women have said about that disconnect a lot of times. And I think that I've heard this before, when I've brought men to, when I've dated people where you have this, you have that, what do you need a man for? And I was thinking that he meant because if a woman seems financially stable, but I'm asking a man, what does that mean when a man doesn't feel like he sees a place for him in a woman's life?
It means he's insecure within himself. Honestly, I feel like there's too much expectation set before you even take the time to get to know a person. So how can you come into a date already with the mindset of, okay, I'm doing this intentionally to be married? You might not like this person, right? So if you take the time to like sit down and see beyond the job and the success and stuff like that, you really connect, you get a lot further, you know? And I think we're just doing ourselves a disjustice on both sides. Too many gender wars, right? And not enough time just connecting. If we do a lot more of that, and I feel like they'd be a lot more successful relationship.
Well, I know Terry always says that women don't date the right way, women date incorrectly. So he talks, that is the backbone of Terry's entire message, is that women don't date the right way. So Terry, I want to ask you to chime in on that, because you do a great job of kind of watching what the dating landscape looks like and seeing where the disconnect is. So when you hear women saying, okay, well, this is what I am, and men saying, I don't fit there, I agree with Randall that we need to, you know, women usually come in a day, oh, he's cute, he got a good job, he could be marriage material. We're already ready already. What is the problem that's causing men to feel like they don't fit, and then, you know, causing women to feel like, oh, is he gonna judge me because of, you know, the things that I have?
Well, like Randall said, a lot of guys can be insecure with a woman that makes her own money, that can be popular, that can be very attractive. There can be a lot of different things that touch on their sensitivity, their insecurities. But for men that are secure, that got their own careers, that make a decent living, and feel confident that they can provide for a woman and a family, I think that they pay more attention to a woman's attitude towards having a man. A lot of times when you see women that make good money, I can buy this, I can do this, I don't need you for this. It comes off kind of aggressive, and it's off-putting for a guy that has options to have a woman that has a more open or inviting type of persona. He's going to choose that compared to a woman that is telling him that he's not needed. I think that if people actually date and spend the time actually getting to know each other to determine whether or not they're actually compatible, where you fit into their lives it becomes apparent just through the dating process because of how that works. Because typically two people, if you have a dating situation that is actually in a good space, during date number one, you're talking about date number two. What you doing Friday? Well, Saturday I got this going on. And so positive dating experiences, that's how it rolls into you don't have time for the other people anymore. So that question of where I fit in your life is something that you have to figure out over time. And I don't think it should really be discussed or talked about on the first date.
The DJ concurs. He's feeling it. I want to ask both Randall and Terry something, because I was having a conversation even with a young lady here. This comes up over and over and over again. You hear women say, I am the perfect package, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I, as a friend, have told another friend, well, if I was a man, I would marry you, because we look at things different. I'd have married all my friends. They're great providers, but I think that the problem, there's a disconnect, because men are not looking for the same thing in a wife that we are looking for in a husband. So when you hear a woman say, and it happens a lot, I got a great job, I make good money, I got this, I got that, I know I'm the perfect catch. And I'm like, well, how do you know if you're not looking for a wife, you're looking for a husband? So I want to ask the men, what characteristics define wife to you? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready to have one, Randall.
I'm clearly a bachelor, right? So I don't know if I could just answer it like that. And to stay consistent, I can say the obvious and say like loving, caring, charismatic, and things of that nature. But honestly, it's going to be something about that specific person that I connect with that's going to make me want to go further, right? If that makes any sense. So it could be different for two different women too. Like what I like about you, I might not like about Symone, right? It all depends. So it's all about just, for me, personally, I just spend a lot of time trying to build myself up, right? Improve myself, be secure in myself, right? And that way I will attract, you know. So when we're actually on our first date, when we're leading to try to get into a relationship, it's all laugh, jokes, stuff like that, before I even get a chance to start talking about your job, right? So,
Let me ask you this, Randall. Have you met a woman, because I love that. I think, you know, we tell women that a man will see you as his wife, and you don't know who that would be. It may not be the guy that you thought you wanted, because we all have decided who we think we want to see us as the wife. But has there ever been a situation that you were in, a relationship that you were in, that you felt like I could actually marry her? And if so, what was it about that situation? What was that feeling for you?
yeah, I've been there where I thought it was gonna go a lot further, and somewhere along the lines, like it was a disconnect. Like somewhere it was like it become overbearing or possessive. You forget that you were friends first, and that's my biggest thing. Like, let's be friends first, and we can build off that foundation. Like a house without foundation is gonna crumble. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're not friends and you're just two people in a title, nothing. Like, that's not real. Like the first argument is gonna crumble. So.
Terry, what about you? What do you, and I mean, you've been married for a long time, so you probably can't even remember at the point that you started, but you talk to a lot of guys that are single. What do you think, what are the characteristics that men define as what they would want in a wife?
Well, we know that men in general start off with the physical appearance. So obviously if the man doesn't have a physical attraction to a woman, he's not gonna shoot his shot, and the dating process is very unlikely to ever start. But when it comes to things that make a man look at a woman long term, it boils down to his experiences dating her. Is she combative? Is she aggressive? Is she cussing people out? Smart men, through their talking phase, they pay attention to the things that go on in a woman's lives. Is she into it with her cousins? Is she beefing with her sisters? Is she in drama? Like, those are the type of things that will make a man distance himself outside of romance and sex. But ultimately, when a man is thinking about whether he could marry a woman or not, she shows that she is family oriented. She shows that being providing service or a nurturing mentality toward others, and her ability or her capacity to be a mother. I think that's one of the biggest things that men pay attention to. So women with children, how you raise your kids is being graded by the men that date you. And a lot of things that a woman can say or do can make a man be like, well, she would never have my kid, but she's still fine, so he's not going to tell her why he wouldn't marry her. So it's something that women usually have to find out after the fact or just be confused about. But me personally, the thing that made me just to view my wife as marriage material, I knew that she was intelligent and she was career oriented, all that stuff on paper. But it was how things were when we were dating. Like we were still in college and she was a bartender manager, and so I made good money from being in the military. But she did something for me that I never would have expected. She bought me some tires for my truck. You know what I'm saying? We weren't even officially together, but it was something like that. Like, well, dang, she's clearly not here for the money, and she's willing to invest in me as a person. So it was that kind of changed my mentality on looking at it from just we kicking it and having fun to this could be something long term.
I want to challenge that just a little bit, because I think that there are a lot of, and I'm hoping this will be good banter for us, because I think that there are a lot of women who are showing up with the mentality and the mindset that I'm wife material, but they're frustrated in the process because they're dating someone who seems to seem like this could be a good fit. We're having some positive dating experiences. There's a lot of compatibility, but somewhere there's a disconnect because I thought we were heading down this opportunity of possibly making this a vision for marriage, a vision for family, because that's what I said I wanted, and you said the same thing, but then something changes. And I think a lot of women right now are frustrated because they're doing all of the things. They're showing up as the nurturers. They don't have the bad attitudes. You know, they're showing up, but then they're not. So where is the disconnect?
You have something to say, Randall?
How do you, I'm gonna get a lot of slack for this.
It's a safe space, Randall. It's a safe space.
Like, how do you know your wife material? Right, and that's my point. Like, how do you, until somebody makes you their wife, like, how are you already wife material?
That's why. No, serious, ladies. I'm dead serious. No, that's why we're here. Because you guys see what it is, like, he literally, Randall said, I get to know you, and then sometimes things don't work, you know, she's kind of this weird that way, I back up. Terry said, well, I pay attention to what you're doing. If, you know, there's issues going on, I will keep sleeping with you, but I won't marry you. And then the woman says, well, what's the problem? Like, literally, but we have to listen. And what they're telling us, what they told us, both of them have said, is that there were things, if it doesn't go that way, there are things that they weren't happy with. And I think as women, we have to pay attention. And it's difficult because a lot of times, because a man may be physically attracted to you, he will continue to engage. And we mistake that engaging for, he likes me and we're on the same path, but he's not engaging with you for the same goal. He's engaging because he's enjoying you, but he doesn't see you as his wife. I also don't think you could be wife material for every man. You could only be, like, most men are not gonna see you as their wife. So I think that's what I wanted to have. We have to stop saying, I know I'm this, I know I'm that, I'm this, I know my stuff is good. Ladies, what are we doing? Like, we're not listening. We're not listening, and we're also not realizing that you are not gonna be everyone's wife. That's why when a man sees you and treats you a certain way, you really have to be receptive and pay attention to that. I want to ask you ladies, because I asked them what did they see, what were husband qualities? And we know that men and women have different goals when it comes to a partner. So I'll start with you, Demi, and then Symone. What characteristics do you think define husband for you?
I would have to say, number one, honesty and transparency and emotional availability. I think for my situation, my husband came out of a previous marriage, and so he told me, like, his goal was, I'm not trying to have a long time. So he wanted a woman, and I knew that I wanted to be married. The question was, do we have anything in common? You know, what is this dating experience going to look like for us? And can I see you as my husband? And so that was my experience. But I think those are very valid needs. I think we want consistency. We want stability. We want security. Can I feel safe with you? Do you have my back? Are you a partner? You know? And I think for me, the biggest one is just being emotionally available for me. And those were probably my top 5.
Symone, what about you?
For me, it was, must be kind. You know, you have to be kind across the board, not just to me. You kind to me because you're trying to do it to me. You know, you got to be kind to everyone, right? I also need nurturing. If we're both taking care of each other, we're going to be good. So I need you to be nurturing, which is challenging for many men. They're used to being the bank. They're used to being a financial provider. But if I can't tell you about my rough day or something that my friend said that hurt my feelings, then there's only, that goes to emotional availability, yes. And then finally, most importantly to me is wisdom. He has to be wise. I have to feel like I can be out of commission for 6 months. Maybe I'm in a car accident or pregnant and postpartum, whatever. And I can trust you to make all household decisions and the house won't be falling down.
Amen. And I'll say that even with that, I mean, partnership I think is really good. I love that you said wisdom. I like a man who's smarter than me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, both of us can't be like, now what we gonna do? You know, and I want you to be a leader. Lead me. I think that for me is the number one thing. Can you lead me? Because and here's the thing, because I'm a believer. So my biggest pet peeve is when I hear men say, I'm looking for a God-fearing woman. Are you a God-fearing, God-chasing, God-leading husband? Because if you are, it makes it easier for me to follow you.
Amen. Come on, sis.
Especially because I feel that, sorry. But I just want to say, all of us women, we're here because we're leaders. And you think about it, if you are the weakest link in your relationship, you're probably gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. But if you get with someone where you gotta help motivate him and pick him up and pull him up, you will never reach your full potential because you will not have the energy. You're gonna be taking your energy to pull him up to maybe half of what you could have did if you weren't there in the first place. And that is what I have recently learned about myself, and I will accept nothing less going forward.
I'm pretty sure I'm not the only man that realized something that was noticeably absent from the responses. I didn't hear nothing about money. And we know that a man's finances is equivalent to a female's sexual attractiveness. So,
Wait.
we know that how a man presents himself, his lifestyle, his income, his career, all of those things are a factor when it comes to whether or not he's going to be viewed as husband material by a woman. And unfortunately, women that are successful, that are business owners, I think it's natural for women to want a man that is not necessarily more successful, but somebody that she can look up to or on her level for that. And when it comes to finances, that's not always going to be the case. You meet a woman that's making $200,000. Now all the men that are beneath her, unless there's something extravagant about him, are unacceptable. So I think a lot of women today, that they judge men by their finances and what they perceive their lifestyle to be. And men that intentionally deceive women prey on that. So that's why so many women.
I didn't have to say it because it was encompassed in the whole as smart as me or better. If you're as wise as I am or more intelligent, you're gonna get to the money.
But not necessarily though, because this is the disconnect. Women, from what I've seen, a lot of times we are, well, not even just women, our culture right now, everybody's attracted to things, right? Trinkets and things. What I know, I don't know if my experience is different than most of my peers, but I like to ride horses. So I spend a lot of time with men that have land and horses and stuff. And most of those men are not the peers that I work with. I work in entertainment, so these guys got on Balenciagas and all this stuff, and it looks great. That's what a lot of my peers are attracted to. They drive Bentleys and they have all this stuff. Meanwhile, I go ride my horse with these dudes that have like Ram trucks and things like that. And they have land and boats and motorcycles and a lot of money in the bank. So I think that sometimes, I was watching Ready to Love the other night, and one of the ladies said, well, can you buy me a Birkin bag? And I thought, I think my sisters are a little confused, because as a wife, I don't want him to buy a Birkin bag. I want him to buy something that will be a part of our legacy. Yes, some land, or if I probably want another horse, or or just more stability. I do want to say, I will admit that at my age, financial stability was something I was not going to settle for less with. But I am now very different. When I first got married, I was 20. My husband and I were in college. He was an engineer major, which let me know there was a check to come in. But we both were students. And so it's not, I think one of the problems is that women that are in their 30s, 20s and 30s are expecting men to have all this available income, and it's just not realistic. And the man that has on the Balenciagas and the Bentley probably doesn't have a lot of money in the bank, because the people that show the most usually have the least. And so we have to be a lot more smart, depending on what type of wife you want to be. right? So I want to ask, I'm going to start with Symone because we had this conversation on our live, right? And then I'll start with Symone and then go to Demi and then ask the guys. Because there are a lot of women, to Terry's point with the first statement, that are successful at this point when they meet the one, right? So you're successful, you have money, you have property, you have portfolio, financial stocks, and all these type of things. And you say you fall in love, because we all are different, you fall in love with someone who doesn't have that level of financial security. What do we need to do from an attorney? What should we be thinking about? You get to the point where you're in love, you're talking about getting married. How do we protect ourselves? And should we be looking at, I want to make sure that if this doesn't work, I'm going to be okay? Is there a way for a woman who is very successful to say, you know what, even though he doesn't have as much, I want to go ahead and be with him?
Yeah, so yes, and so I think what you have to keep in mind, you know, people say, well, if you're thinking about that, you're already planning for it to fail. No, what I am anticipating is I love you. I'm committing to you. And if we divorce, it's because you have turned into somebody I don't recognize. Somebody that I have not agreed to spend my life with. And so that's the person that you have to prepare to part from. And so for me, what I had planned when I was engaged was both a prenup and a postnup. Because I have a retirement. I have close to $1 million that's saved. I found out he had 0 and was pushing 50 years old. I watched a lot of Dateline. And the way I would end up on Dateline was if 5, 10 years from now, we divorce and you trying to take half of mine. I'm gonna go to jail and I can't fight. Snapped. That's the next time you're gonna see me on TV. It's not no ready to love, it'll be snapped. And I will kill you. And so for me, what I needed was something that says you're not gonna touch my retirement now or for the next decade. Yes. And we're not even gonna talk about anybody's retirement unless you, sir, have at least as much in your retirement as in mine. Also, I deal with women who have had situations where there's a woman I'm working with now. Her husband took his retirement. He made like $350 and she makes like $100K. He took his retirement, made some risky investment, Bitcoin, something, lost all of it. Now in the divorce, he wants half of hers. I hit him in the head too. So
Back on Snapped.
So what I'm saying is, a lot of times we think about, oh, I don't need a prenup, or I don't need to think about that because the two of us today are at equal leverage. What you have to plan for is, what do I do if you're no longer this person? And then very importantly, if you have children, you have to plan so that their life is as seamless as possible if you're no longer together. So for me, what that would look like is, who's gonna pay for daycare? Who's gonna help with extracurriculars? Are we doing AAU? Okay, Dad, you're responsible for AAU, maybe I'm gonna do dance. So it's okay to plan for your future, and it's best to do it while things are good, because you don't wanna learn to fight while you're in a fight.
Okay, Demi, so your situation was different. You were already married. What do you find yourself ever thinking about what does this look like? Surely you all are never gonna, but if that did come up, have you ever thought about how you would handle that financially?
No. Because when me and my husband got together, my husband was a single father. He had nothing. And when I say he had nothing, he was living with his mama. But I saw something in him. This guy's got potential. He's a great worker, and he has a vision for his life. And I believe that I can trust him, his integrity, his character, his leadership skills. And I believe that we will have something. And I also knew I had vision. So, and I've always been the breadwinner in our household. And I've never minimized my husband. I've never demonized him or made him feel like you ain't bringing nothing to the table. Because I do feel like, although I may make more money, we still are a team. And he shows up in so many bigger ways that outweigh money. You know what I mean? And I think if you make that the ultimate goal of your relationship, then it's so easy to get lost in that. Are we making the bag now? Yes. And so looking in the future, it's hard for me to say that we would plan for a prenup or get a divorce because we're not in that space. And I truly look at my husband as a true partner, and we are a team. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so important in our marriages to have those check-ins with each other, to see like, how are you doing? Where are we at? Me and my husband vacation every 90 days. It's not always luxury, but it's for us to reset and to check in with one another, dealing with conflict, dealing with the issues in our marriage so that we're not holding resentment, unforgiveness that take us down the rabbit trail of now making a hard decision or a very emotional decision of, I don't like you anymore. So I think it's all encompassing, and I think that marriage is work and marriage is hard. And so for me, no.
No, I like that, and your situation is different, right? This is my
But
first,
in everybody else's situation,
everybody has
Yeah.
to figure out a dynamic that works for them,
yes.
right? I think there's no right or wrong way, but I do think that you have to figure out what you want personally. Because if you get in something and you're not really okay with it, like I have guy friends that say, I started dating this girl and she told me she didn't care that I didn't make, over $50,000. Then, there's a concert and she wants me to get a $500 tickets. And I'm like, you said you were okay with the fact that I didn't make this much money. So I think as women, we have to really understand and know what is important to us, right? Randall, I want to ask you, just as a man that, is in this environment where a lot of times women do come with a lot of demands when it comes to finances. What are your thoughts on, how that would look for you in a marriage? Do you want to be a provider? Do you want to be someone that, takes care of the family financially? Or have you even thought about those dynamics when you would look to one day get married?
I mean, right now, like all I think about is the connection. Like I've been with so many like successful people that hasn't worked, like more money, the same amount, less than me. I try to just go with no stipulations right now. Like I'm seriously looking, if I'm going to alone just date you, I'm seriously looking at the person. Like I told you on your live, like I don't care about your job. You know what I'm saying? I care about it, I don't care. I don't care what you do, like I don't want your money, you know what I'm saying? I'll be intrigued about what you do just because you're passionate about it. And your lifestyle, because whatever you're interested in, I'm going to indulge myself in it. So with that, that's the reason I like ambitious women, because I've had someone who isn't ambitious, and they took me on my track, right? So as far as like being a provider, like that's natural. Like you want to be a natural provider, a natural protector, but if someone makes more money than you, I'm not like scared of that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I like the fact that you just pointed out that it's not the money, it's the fact that you didn't like the girl because she wasn't making money. It was because she wasn't ambitious and it distracted you.
100%.
That's huge. I think that's something that we think that it's about the money. A lot of times, to me, the money is like, because you can have a man that made $50,000 a year for 40 years, but he was really smart with his money and he did the right things. You can have someone that makes 350 and is really immature and undisciplined and, ends up with nothing. So I don't think it's the amount. I do think it's ambition. Terry, I want to ask you your opinion because I know on your podcast, Hold a Housewife, the prolific podcast, Hold a Housewife, you guys talk a lot about finances and, what women are, demanding from men in terms of finances. Where do you weigh in on if a man, has money and he gets with a woman that doesn't, should he have a prenup or should he just take the role of provider, I guess, at bay?
I don't have a problem with anybody that has wealth or assets getting a prenuptial agreement. There's a lot of misconceptions about prenups, but from what I've learned, both parties are involved in the process. So she gets to have a lawyer, he gets to have a lawyer, and they get to talk about and negotiate on what is fair and reasonable. And so I think that process will tell you a lot about who you're marrying. Because if a woman is coming into a marriage with nothing, and she's married a dude that's a millionaire, and she got a prenup that says if we only last 5 years, you walk away with $800,000 or something crazy. How can you not be comfortable living a millionaire lifestyle the entire length of the marriage and then walking away with 800 racks? But so the only logical reason that I can think of for somebody to have a problem with it is if they feel that they can get more without it. And so the discussion about a prenup and the process of going through it would tell me whether or not I could actually be with somebody long term. As far as me and my wife, we were dead broke when we got married. And I honestly, that played a major factor into me being willing to get married at 25. Because I always knew I would make money and do my thing, but I knew it would become more difficult to find a woman that was genuinely into me the more successful that I got. And so I'm at a position where she started with me she was shooting in the gym, you know what I mean? So if we did get divorced, I would be comfortable splitting everything. I would not feel that way about a new chick coming along. And so I'm pro prenuptial agreement because it's something that both people have input in.
I'm 19 years old.
That wisdom, that's why it was so important to have two married people on the panel. I want to open it up for questions. We have more questions for this, but I wanted to make sure everyone got a chance to share their perspective. So if you have a question for any one of the panelists, please slip your head in the air. And Curtis, can we get you to take the microphone take the microphone that Randall passed to the audience so we can get some questions? So when you ask your question, state your name and address the panelists that you want to ask.
My name is Dr. Tanya T. Wise, and I had a bunch of questions, but I'm gonna go back to my original question. I did both. I had the prenup and the postnup. I didn't find out about the postnup until he cheated, but we put it in place then. But my question is more or less for Terry. When it comes to you not being interested anymore, but yet you're still sleeping with her instead of cutting her off and letting her go her own way. Because I feel like there's a part in that you guys give the women, us women that feel like we good wife material, right? But you're not giving us a chance to go find that guy that we are perfect for if you're still sleeping with us.
Well, a lot of guys are selfish, and they will. I call that a one-sided commitment, where they'll be having a casual dating situation and treating you and have expectations of you as if you are his wife or girlfriend, but he's still single, he can do whatever he wants to do. I think that's a bad situation for any woman to be in. But as far as a guy that's honest with a woman, a single man that is sleeping with a woman or casually dating her, if he decides that she's someone that he would not marry, it's not in his best interest to explain that to her. I don't think very many women are going to be receptive from a guy they've been sleeping with for 4 months, telling them why he would never marry her or want to have kids with her. So most guys are going to keep things if a relationship is in that type of realm, it's going to be we just hang out, we have fun, and we do entertainment. You're not going to get the things where you're around his family for the holidays. They view long term. Other guys are just gonna make sure that things stay cool to where we can keep doing what we're doing without disrupting the situation.
Can you just stop sleeping with him if he ain't showing you? I just think that as women, sometimes we're like, God, send me a sign, but he already did. He's not moving forward with us. And I think we just sometimes just keep giving up the cookies and it's not moving forward. What are we doing? So I think we have control over our body. And if he's not showing you, then move on. Don't wait on the boat. Just say, hey, this ain't it, and it's okay.
And move on. And I think what we have this hope that we're gonna be able to change him. We're gonna change his mind. Click into that discernment. Ask those hard and honest questions. Because at the end of the day, time is non-refundable. Why am I spending my time with you and we don't have the same thing in common? You don't want what I want. Exactly. And move on, and it's okay. So.
Now she has written questions down, so fellas, y'all be well.
Hello, I'm LaGeorgia Hood. I am here representing PLOW, which is Premier Ladies Organization of Women. We are a nonprofit organization that supports women. We foster women. We make women know that they are the option. So my question is for the gentleman, Holter housewife. You said coming into it with nothing. He's a millionaire. I didn't come into it with nothing because he chose me for some reason. So something I had made him come to me. So I didn't come into this with nothing. And then I'm going to grow him. I'm going to be his helpmate. I'm going to have his children if he takes me that way. So don't think we ever come into anything with nothing. And then the next thing, when did the roles change? Man is provider, woman is homemaker. So when did the roles change? I'm strong, I'm balling, but I don't want to be. I'm tired. I want a man to rub my feet. I don't want him to pay my bills. I do that good. I'm tired of bills, as a matter of fact. But I want a man to rub my feet, be my helpmate. But y'all ain't looking at us that way no more. You're looking at us to date me for 4 months and play with my life and then send me on to the next man. So no, so that's my question. When did the roles change? When do I have to be more than what I am? And that's one.
To answer your question, I don't know exactly when the roles changed. I think that one of the biggest factors that have sped up the process is social media. As far as the biggest shift in the male and female dynamic, we went from a time period not that long, well, 50 years is a long time, but we went from women not being allowed to work and not being able to get the bag to women exceeding at making money and making the bag, where normal incomes didn't really increase that much. And inflation has really outpaced all of that. So we live in a society now where it's not really feasible for a man on one salary to provide for a whole family like he did in the 70s and 80s. And so as long as men and women have a realistic perspective on what the current state of finances are, then there should be some type of equity as far as a man when it comes to chores in the household, taking care of kids, etc. All things that you should be able to observe during the dating process. Does he do his laundry? How clean is his house? How is he when he has company over? How does his kitchen look when you go to his apartment? All these are things that you can use to gauge how involved a man is going to be in helping you maintain the household. And so the same way that men expect women to assist or help out and pay some bills, the same way he should be putting forth that energy into running the household. So I think that we all have to observe and realize the changes that take place in technology and households in general and make decisions that represent today.
I also think, I just want to add that, I also think that the priorities have changed for men. You know what I mean? Like, you have traditional men who have their traditional ideas of family, wanting a wife, children, and then you just have these guys, the new guys, that don't know what they want, and they're looking for someone that they can either come up off of, or they want you to take care of them. And so I think that becomes the biggest part of the frustration, is that there is no equity, there is no balance. You have these people who just want what they want, and that's it, and that's not fair.
Well, then we have to leave those men as they are, but I think that there's one piece of this that we have to acknowledge as women. If you want a man that's traditional, that pays all the bills, and you don't pay any bills, he's not paying bills, gonna be there all the time, gonna rub your feet, gonna take you on romantic dates. That's just not realistic. You know what I mean? Like, and so I know it's like women want traditional men, but we don't want to be traditional women, because no women I know that are working want to stop working. We want to keep working, but we want him to pay all the bills and be that way. And it's like, you gotta pick which one it is. I wanted a man that was traditional. My husband is like, I will pay all the bills. But guess what? He wants meals a lot. Like, he wants to, like, look, I'm not cooking every day. And he's like, oh, but this is what it is. This is what you said you wanted. And I expect a man that works all day and provides for you is not going to come home while you're sitting there all day and rub your feet. Maybe on occasion, but it's not. It's really going to be, you're going to rub his feet, and you're going to make sure that the food is cooked, and you're going to make sure the clothes are washed. Or you can be in a situation where you guys are both contributing, and everybody shares, but we have to know what we're looking for. You have to know if you want this kind of a man, this is what comes with that. And men that have a lot of money usually don't have a lot of time. And men that have a lot of time usually don't have a lot of money. So you got to figure out which one you want. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I want my feet moved and I don't want to work. So my name is Miss Monica. I am Girl What's the Tea. So I am here representing, make sure y'all got to follow me, okay? So I have a question for Miss Symone. Now, this is back to Randall's not really responding to how we know we're ready to be a wife. Now, I became a widow at 45. Wasn't expecting that. I got my feet rubbed. I didn't have to work if I didn't want to. And I was good. But now, I'm starting over again. So 5 years later, I'm ready to be a wife again, maybe. Now, how do I know I'm ready? Because I did the work. I healed. I went back and I healed because I had to heal because I lost my husband. So now I have to prepare myself for my new person, my new husband. So how do I know that I'm ready? Because I took the time to date myself again. I took my time, my time to heal, to allow my children to heal. And we would never really heal, but I can step back into a new relationship. So Symone, you're in Randall both coming from Ready to Love, and y'all know I live, I talk my shit about the show. How did you know you was actually ready to become a wife?
Because people kept asking me to be theirs.
Come on now.
That's really good.
And that's fact. That is fact. I want to make a statement about that because we as women, we force ourselves into relationships. We make the man want us instead of the man wanting us. My mom taught me that. She said, this time, she said, let him love you first. Let him love you first, and then you will know he's your person. Because if a man wants you, he's going to come for you.
You can tell by little things they do, like, I would overhear mine talk to his cousins and his best friends about little things like, one time I was doing something, I was cooking, and I thought he was rewatching like a sports replay. He kept watching something over and over again. It was me getting an award, and him videoing me get whatever award, you know, and it's, do you know his parents? Ain't no black man gonna propose to you if you haven't met his mama, okay? Like, does he bring you around his people? So it was those things combined with the mess.
Y'all panel is so juicy. All right, so my question is Miss 23 years married, because I'm so sorry for forgetting your name, but that is something I aspire to be. So quick question. I haven't heard y'all say anything about that crazy word we hear every day, submission. I know that it's something that's real. It's definitely, I think, a topic to explore. I think it's something that more so I would probably want to hear a man's perspective, but today I want to hear the woman, because I just want to know, through your 23 years of marriage, I know that there were times where things might have gotten a little scary, where you probably felt like you had to take the wheel and control some things so that y'all can stay afloat. How in those times do you remain submissive?
So one of the things I want to say is that it wasn't scary. I just didn't want to do it. That's just what it was. And again, I come from strong women who are leading. And one of the things that I realized is I'm a control freak. And I got to control everything. And I did not give my husband permission to wear the pants because I wanted to wear them. And God really was, and so again, I'm a believer. So I believe in submission now because God was convicting my heart on that I was the problem. And so I needed to be, it was important for me to bring my home into alignment, and that is to truly follow the order of God in making my husband is the priest, the prophet, and the provider. But somehow I was doing all three. And my husband told me, then why do you need me? And so he was feeling some kind of way about it. And we had those honest conversations. And so I needed to let go of the fear and let go of the intimidation and trust him. And that means that even if he failed, even if we had to repeat hard lessons, honoring him is letting him figuring it out and being on the sideline as his wife to support him and being mindful with wisdom of what I say. You know what I mean? Because I'm one to say, had you listened to me, but giving him encouraging words like, oh, okay, or just not saying nothing. Because there would be some moments where I wanted to say something and just not saying anything and letting him figure it out. And because I believe in submission, I do. I believe in it now. I think traditionally in my head, I was like, you're gonna be telling me what to do. Like, that's just not how it's gonna work. And I also believe in relationship equity, and we have also established, we have to have a conversation. I think it's so important for us to have those conversations with our companions to ask them, what does love look like for you? What does that feel like to you? Because we're bringing in these traditional one set, these one size experiences from our parents. We're bringing in unhealthy experiences, unhealthy habits and patterns. And so what me and my husband decided to do is that we want the one size that fits us. What does that look like? How can we reimagine and re-envision our marriage? What do we want? We had to ask, what are our deal breakers? What are our non-negotiables? And so trust and honesty was one of those things. I allowed my husband to be very honest about our relationship and how he sees me. And that's when we got to the root of the issue. Because I was unhappy and he was like, well, I'm unhappy too. So how do we deal with the conflict and the unhappiness? And how do we get to that space of fulfillment? Because to be quite honest with you, I don't want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled in my relationship and in my marriage with my husband. And it started with submission.
I love that. You all give that's a hand clap. That takes wisdom for a woman to be able to say, I have to be quiet and support him even if he's wrong. And I think that's probably the main message that I really want people to get from this, especially women, because I think men have to speak to men in a different way, right? I don't know how to tell a man how to be a man. I just know what I want to receive from one. But what I do know is a lot of times us as women, we get discouraged when we don't get what we want out of love. And I would say that, there's no other area in our life that if we get told a no, we take it personally, right? So for me, I had to learn that much like a basketball player rebounds and throws, but you don't spend time crying and sitting on the sideline when you miss a bucket. You get right back out there and you shoot because you have the ability. I think understanding that God had somebody amazing for me, and even though I had gone through a divorce, which I saw as a huge failure, and I was, having just a really disappointing and discouraging time dating, I had to know that God had somebody amazing for me, and believing that and walking in that was so important to manifesting that. And so I would just challenge all the people here, not just women, but not to let anything that is not in alignment with what you want from your future come out of your mouth. Do not let anything negative about a man come out of your mouth. How can you want God to send you an amazing husband when you speak vile things about men? It's not going to happen. Change your tongue and speak positive. We say that when it comes to business. We say that when it comes, I'm gonna get this. I heard people saying, some of the speakers earlier, focus on what you want. But when it comes to romance, it's scary for us to say because that's a part of us that's vulnerable. But I think that's the most beautiful part of us, honestly. And the things that we've accomplished, the degrees, the homes, those things are not the most beautiful part of you. No matter how bad your wardrobe is, it's not the most beautiful thing about you. And so that's my message. A man is not going to connect with your car or your home or your degrees or any of that. He's going to connect with that part of you that really is vulnerable and beautiful. So I just want to encourage all of you to believe in the power of a beautiful love, not a love that you settle for, Not a love that you take because you feel like this is all you can get at your age after having failed in love before. Know that something amazing is out there for you that's created and curated just for you. And all you have to do is know that it's not going to pass you by and believe, and it will come to you. And I feel like I'm living proof of that, because when I changed my attitude, especially towards my Black men, and it wasn't that I didn't like it, it was just that I'd been hurt. That's how you know you're ready, when you let go of that hurt and you're willing to lose. You cannot win until you're willing to lose. So I want to thank the panel. I know we've gone a little bit over and we have to get out of here. I want to give each of them an opportunity to tell you guys where to follow them. Like I said, I picked them specifically because I really felt like each of them had something to share. I think it's important that we allow single men to speak and make them feel welcome so we can hear what they have to say. I think it's important to listen to people that have been married and have weathered the storm. You're not going to have 23 amazing years of marriage. You're going to have some bumps and bruises. When Michelle Obama said that and people reacted negatively, it's like our generation doesn't really understand what marriage is. Nothing happened. You gotta have 23 years of positivity on your job. You gotta have some with your mama, with your children. Nothing is ever without that. We don't allow our relationships that same grace. You know your kids put you through it, but there's unconditional love there. Most importantly, you have to unconditionally love yourself before you can expect someone else to do that. So I'm gonna start with Randall. I want each of them to give their social media so you can please follow them. Please, follow them and support them in what they're doing, because they literally came and donated their time. I asked each of them to come and be a part of it, and I really appreciate them doing that. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for having me, and thank everyone for having me. You can follow me at King Randall 31 on all platforms, Threads, Instagram, YouTube, all of them. Okay, but again, I appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Symone, for having me, and Dr. Tiffany, for Tiffany, Christal, and all these Tiffany's. So you can follow me at Demi Austin Thomas on Instagram and on Facebook. That's Demi, D-E-M-I, Austin, A-U-S-T-I-N, Thomas, T-H-O-M-A-S. And then you can also find me online at DemiAustinThomas.com.
And I'm attorney Symone Redwine. So on Instagram, it's attorney, I spell Symone with a Y, S-Y-M-O-N-E. And my last name actually is Redwine. You can, from there, you can find my YouTube channel as well, which is called Girl, Is That Legal? Each week, I'm gonna be starting back up in September, but each week I gift one person a free background check into the person of their choice. So definitely tune in, they're very interesting. Sometimes it's about an ex-boyfriend, a new boyfriend, a baby daddy, and we find out all kind of interesting information.
That was Girl, Is That Legal? You guys, please. I know everybody's gonna follow that. Go ahead, Terry.
You can find me on social media at Terry Deron. That's T-E-R-R-Y-D-E-R-O-N. I also have a podcast called the Hold a Husband Podcast that's available on Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your podcasts. It's a video podcast, so you can actually watch us discuss the conversation.
Okay, and you guys can follow me. I'm at Enchanted PR, and I have a YouTube channel titled From Christal XO. And I love interviewing Ready to Love. I had one of the Ready to Love guests on last night. It was quite juicy. It was Kira, actually, from this season of Ready to Love. But it's a lot different than you guys' season. It's a lot going on. But I just want to thank you all again. And thank Tiffany for allowing me to bring this panel back again this year. I don't see her in the room, but I just want to thank her. There she is. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for allowing us to come back with another relationship panel. Also, if anyone is interested in the book, this basically details my journey. After I went on Iyanla shared with me that a lot of my single journey was a lot due to myself. And so I really wrote this because I was writing to myself and the women that were in my circle. But I appreciate all of you guys listening and being here, and look forward to another amazing day here at Women in Wine. Thank you guys.